Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, double honors, the and apostles of the great millstone who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Bracha Tum. So, out here another week prophesying the downfall of Babylon the Great, of America in the scriptures, and of Esau Edom and his whole kingdoms, that has ruled in darkness for a very, very long time. Like everything else, so they've hailed, Christianity over us, and that was such a, mischievous plan, to get everybody to think that, somehow you had to be like the so-called white man. In order to be righteous, you had to be white. You had to be right, And Esau has deceived the whole world into believing that the Edomites are, in fact, the Jews, because right now the self-proclaiming Jews, well, they're out there in Gaza and in the West Bank, annexing and taking more and more territory. But yet this Israeli state, is being exposed on every corner. Why? Because they're not the real Israelites. That the real Israelites are the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the bywords that they use. The bywords that they use, they call you nigger, they call you spick, they call you fucking wetbacks, they call you fucking, fucking Indians, and like everything else, so, Indian was a insult. When Esau came over here, he couldn't even figure out who these people were, right? Even though they had interpreters, right? But nonetheless, so called them Indians, and like everything else, so we didn't originate from India, but because we had darker skin, right? We had darker skin, we wasn't pale-faced like these goddamn fucking Edomites, these red Hebrew Edomites, because he's been on the warpath lately calling us black Hebrew Israelites. That's an older term, but that's yet the term that he calls us, right? Because we're out here proclaiming this truth, but not all of us are black, not all of us are dark skinned. Not all of us look Latino. Not all of us look Native American. You have a lot of Israelite foreigners amongst them, But we've been proclaiming this truth for some time. And it's hurting his whole program. Because these self-proclaimed Jews, as in, the synagogue of Satan, as in, Amalek, just can't control the narrative anymore. And everybody sees them for what they are. These red Hebrew Edomites just have been seen for what they are. They're being exposed on every corner, And they are Epstein's, Epstein just happens to be a villain that they created like Hitler, if you hadn't caught the previous videos, right? It's just a previous character, like Hitler. And they want to demonize that character, but yet he's a mere image of themselves. So it's much easier to just say, okay, this person was very, very bad, even though he's one of them. He's a red Hebrew Edomite. The red Hebrew Edomite doesn't want to admit what he finds at fault in himself, but rather would blame a villain, such as Epstein or Hitler, But Hitler, you would find out, was also Rothschild Rockefeller, but they purposely built him up just to take him down, right? World War II was nothing more than deception, right? Because these 6 million so-called Jews, which are nothing but Amalekites, that 6 million of them died when the Khazar doesn't even make up that many, When you find out who they are, and you find out who Amalek is, which we've been exposing on every corner, man, so it's quite obvious that they're not the biblical Israelites. And that's been a threat to them for some time. So what do they got to do? Well, they got to get everybody argued about the Super Bowl halftime show. That's what they did last week. Got everybody arguing about the Super Bowl halftime show, which was Bad Bunny. And so they had to create the All-American halftime show, which was Kid Rock, and just they did everything they can to get everybody arguing about how bad the performance was, or that it wasn't performed English, or that, he's Hillbilly Vanilli. That's a nickname that they have for Kid Rock now. But in between all that, they just passed a bill. They passed a bill, and it got signed on Monday following the Super Bowl, which I call the Stupid Bowl, because it, was nothing but a rigged game to begin with, The Seahawks shouldn't have beaten the 49ers, like everything else, though. It was handed to them. And you could see clearly that the 49ers were not playing their best in that game. And the same thing with the Patriots. They were not playing their best in their game. But it was done deliberately because what does the Seahawks represent? They represent the New World Order. And the New England Patriots really represent the people that are holding to the old Constitution, which has been a farce from the very beginning. But a lot of people believe in the Tea Party, etc. They believe in the old patriotism, that's going to prevail, right? Because they believe that they could, get everything back to the way it once was, right? And they thought Trump was that guy. They thought Donald Trump was that guy, that he was a patriot, that he was really fighting for the rights. When these stupid motherfuckers forgot that in 2020, he's the one that locked down the whole country under the Chinese virus, the coronavirus hoax. They just appeared out of nowhere. This monster appeared out of nowhere. These people will never admit that Donald Trump is a liar, a fraud. Oh, wait. Isn't that what Esau is? Isn't Donald Trump just a mere image of Esau Edom? Well, that would explain who this fierce king, cruel Lord is in Isaiah chapter 19, which we've covered extensively. That a fierce king shall rule over them, having no mercy. So like everything else, though, distracted by the stupid bull, distracted by Bad Bunny and by, Kid Rock. But in the meantime, though, the legislation leading towards the mandatory MOTB, which will come out of this, well, that's coming to pass. See, we have to wait patiently for it. It will surely come to pass. It will not tarry, but it will surely come. As we're told in Habakkuk chapter 2. You got to wait for it. And we are patiently waiting for it, right? We've been hastened for the coming day of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. But we know that the day of the Lord, Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, will come. We just got to hasten for it, but at the same time, though, got to be very, very patient for it, These are clear instructions that are given to us in Revelation chapter 13 as well. But he is going to mandate it, They're going to get rid of cash this year. Cash is going to be done away with. Planet Fitness, I reiterate that quite a bit. Planet Fitness has already decided that they're no longer going to take cash payments, that you have to have either ATM, EBT, never mind, EBT, or credit card. You got to have a credit card, or you got to have an ATM in order to actually, get through. You got to have a phone app in order to make payments, even for the simple things that they sell in the place, like water or, juice, like the V8 stuff or whatever, the vitamin stuff. You got to have digital payments. It's all digital. And that's what they're going to do. They're not going to just outlaw cash outright, but what they're going to do, though, is they're going to make it so hard for the companies to not accept cash. And then you see Winco over here in Babylon, and here in Reading in particularly. Winco is deliberately just saying you got to pay total cash. If you're going to pay in cash, you got to pay exact change, or they're not going to give you your change back. Another fraud they're trying to run, as well as trying to buy up all the pennies because they discontinued the pennies. What are they preparing for? Well, see, they know that they're not going to be able to accept cash very much longer. That's what they do know. Cash payments are going to be eliminated, and you're not going to be able to buy or sell unless you have a digital wallet. The digital wallet has been mandated for January 1st. January 1st, next year, 2027, it will go into effect that everybody has to have a digital wallet. Nancy Pelosi, back in 2020, when Donald Trump referred to the stimulus payments, she said she wants everything into a digital wallet. So like everything else, though, it didn't happen in 2020 because, of course, like everything else, though, it was withheld. But yet at the same time, they were giving you a clue that everything was going to be in a digital payment so they could track and trace your every move. And then they gave us, of course, 4 years of Biden, who really was just, they call him Sleepy Joe. They gave us that because it just wasn't ready yet. They hadn't created the 5Gs just yet. We were at the end of Donald Trump's first term, so they didn't have the full 5G towers as of yet. which of course, they're going into 6Gs and 7Gs, but they didn't have the towers just quite yet, but they had to at least shut everything down for a little while to build the infrastructure for the microchip system. See, they got to get everybody tracked and traced for their every move, and that was the plan. That was what COVID-19 was all about. Was about ID 2020. It was about getting everybody on the digital system, but it wasn't ready yet. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And we see that Esau's making more and more moves, and that this was done over the stupid bowl. The stupid bowl that didn't make any sense, right? You look at the stupid bowl, and there was a few Illuminati things, but I do understand the whole Illuminati symbolism here is that the Patriots represent the old, that believe in the old republic, and the Seahawks represent the New World Order, and that the New World Order would win, at the very end of the day. See, Esau's going to get so close to fulfilling his belly that Yahweh Shai and the angels are going to interrupt that. See, because like everything else, though, behind the scenes, they have a plan. Most High has a plan, and that's why you're seeing the buildup, right? You're seeing the angels of the Most High, the UFOs that Esau calls. Even Barack Obama just recently said that he believes in alien life forms. He believes in UFOs. Why? Because the chariots are obvious that they're here, and they're waiting. They're watching their every move. Now, is Barack Obama a believer in the Most High? Oh, he doesn't seem to be, but yet at the same time, he believes that the chariots are real, you see, because we believe him to be the former Egyptian king way back. We believe him to be Akhenaten, if you've heard some of the things, showing you photos of him, proven to be Akhenaten, which was another Egyptian king, right? We also believe him to be a pharaoh, because the original Egyptians, believe it or not, were Hamites. Even though, you got these visions of Edomites being Egyptians, or Arabs being Egyptians, which that's a farce, because the original Egyptians were Cush. So Barack Obama goes back to that. But fast forward to today, Nero, he's in the regeneration, and we believe him to be Nero. And what did he do? He set the streets of Rome on fire before his end, And like everything else, though, Rome was destroyed. Rome had fallen. Well, we see that the Edomite Empire is about to fall. So he's where he's exactly needs to be. And yet we see that Biden played the part of Antiochus Epiphanes, But all to forward their agenda. Their agenda is a new world order, having two horns like a lamb, but speak as a dragon. You've seen a lot of draconian laws come to pass even during the Biden administration. Even though they called him Sleepy Joe, he had made the statement as a senator, can a microscopic tag be used to track someone's every movement? You will rule on that, mark my words. And that's what? That's the MOTB. It's the implant. The implantable device to be placed inside of everyone to track their every move, that you will not be able to buy or sell save you that has it. Then you see the push for electric cars and for everything to be controlled by a computer chip. You heard about the semiconductor shortages, and they made everybody believe that Donald Trump would be the one to undo everything that Biden did, that he'd rebuild the wall and that he'd deport a bunch of people. And they've gotten a lot of people believing that, even though you see that ISIS in Minnesota and Minneapolis, where they deporting people, they give you the charade that they are, on Fox News, right? Fox News, they give you the belief that they're deporting Samoans who can't spell correctly. They give you that illusion, but really it's just an illusion when they are shooting at just protesters, people that detest what's going on. They've shot 2 Edomites, 2 Karens that they've shot, aka those that were anti-resistance were the ones that were shot dead by ISIS, And so you got this whole, as they've been doing before, even back in 2020, to defund the police, ISIS, which ISIS is not even the fucking pigs to begin with. A lot of the pigs, actually, here in Reading, Believe it or not, the pigs actually were in support of the student walkouts, and you had a lot of people actually getting in front. You had a lot of adults here in Reading getting right in front of the kids that were detesting what was going on with ISIS, because they were detesting ISIS and they did a walkout. And you've seen some fucking grown-ass adults fucking getting in their face here in Reading, just a couple of days ago, because there was a protest student walkout. You see how much this is controlled? You see how they can control the people's minds? Because again, they've been spraying the skies with, so much chemtrails, that it controls the mind. You got a lot of lithium there, and then you got a lot of other things that are agitators, because that's who was killed in Minneapolis, was an agitator. That's all that Karen was an agitator, just someone that detested what they're doing, got in their face, and then when they told her to fucking pull over or to stop her car, she continued to go, and then they just shot her in the fucking face. That's what ISIS does, because ISIS is a bunch of goddamn terrorists. And so you got a government shutdown in the midst of all this. Oh, they don't really go into this government shutdown, but the government did shut down as of Friday. It's the second one this month. Partial government shutdowns, but they're still shutdowns nonetheless. And it's over the defunding of DHS, and ISIS. It's mostly about ISIS. The fact that, okay, why should they wear the masks like a bunch of goddamn fucking cowards? Show your fucking face, you fucking piece of shit. That's what the argument's about. And you see, like everything else, though, it's meant to get people's anger, right? Show your face, you fucking coward, you fucking pig. Even though the pigs are actually behind the people, And like everything else, though, you got, well, what's happening? Well, Isaiah chapter 19 would actually tell you what's going on here, and it's very simple. Oh, and by the way, Esau cut, the so-called Obama phones. For some reason, the Obama phone, it's a nickname for it, the so-called, that just ended. I don't have it anymore. I don't have at all the so-called free phones that they were supposed to hand out, right? Because I know that Donald Trump cut that off, Well, it's finally cut, and I don't have that anymore, so I can't play video anymore here, but I can definitely read the scriptures, So like everything else, though, we're here, We're in the time that Yahweh will send Yahweh to judge this place, but, they have already seen the big chariots, and they see the angels, which are the UFOs, judging this place, right? They see it, and all the other things that would take place before the actual return of Yahweh Shai. Because he will not greet thee as a man. No, he's coming as destruction. So they already seen the huge chariot. There's been a lot of reports about a huge chariot that's not too far from the moon. It's, just larger than anything else. And that's going to cover the whole earth very soon. 2 Ezra chapter 15. Behold, saith the Most High Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So, well, that's just it, though, is we see that, the Egyptians are against the Egyptians, and it's going to get really bad here. The wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Most High Yahweh, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. This has also been deemed the year of sellouts and of apostasy, the year of apostasy and great sellouts. And therefore saith the Most High Yahweh, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. What's that talking about? That's talking about the whole of the Israelites. He's going to take, those that are the innocent, the ones that cry out. Behold, the innocent souls cry unto me, and we're sighing and we're crying about all the wickedness that's being profanely committed. They profanely commit these atrocities, knowing that they're Israelites, yet they still choose to be in the image of Esau. They're saying that Edomites can still make it. They're still saying that, you can still eat pork and all that, just like Esau told you could. They profanely commit that. They have sex on the Sabbath. They have sex during the Passover, which, by the way, that's coming up. They profanely commit these abominations. before the Most High, because Bishop Nathaniel knows that these are abominations, but he still profanely commits them, and he tells his followers to profanely commit them. You know, it's okay to eat pork, and that's okay to call upon the name JC. Won't even teach the name of the Most High, Yahweh, or Yahweh Shai. Says he hates that name. So you see how this is the year of apostasy and of sellouts. Therefore saith the Most High, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. That's talking about Israel as a whole. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. You know, and this land of Egypt is talking about Babylon. You know, because ancient Egypt, well, we already explained it, that those are the Cushites. Those are the Hamites, you know, that once ruled that. They're not there anymore. You know, so it's not talking about ancient Egypt, it's talking about Babylon. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh shall bring upon it. What's that plague talking about? That's talking about World War III. That's talking about the destruction that's coming to Esau, Edom. And don't forget its economy. Its economy is tanked. They're just not telling you that. They're going to crash the economy this year, you know, to where they're going to want a digital dollar. They're going to want a digital wallet because the old economy, well, it's not going to last anymore. Between the tariffs and then just everything else that's happened, nobody's going to use the U.S. dollar anymore. It's going to be done away with. Cash is going to be done away with. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blasting and hail and with a fearful consolation. You know, and that's just basically, you know, there's no future in this economy. But also, nuclear wars around the corner. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So, you know, it's going to be nothing but civil war, civil unrest here. And we're seeing the beginning of that. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, which shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. You're going to have a lot of offset groups. You're going to have a lot of patriots, if you will. You know, because I was just talking about the Seahawks and the Patriots, right? The Patriots are going to rise up and stand up against their government, right? But the Seahawks are going to conquer them in the essence of the New World Order. See, Esau's going to come close to fulfilling his belly. And then that's when Yahweh Shai and the angels will destroy him for good. We just got to wait patiently for it. Got to have patience for this thing, right? How long have we been teaching that they're going to mandate everyone to be chipped? We've been teaching that for years. You know, and there are a lot of naysayers, you know. A lot of naysayers saying that the chip is not the MOTB, you know. That it's not the micro C-hip, that it's something else, you know. But how could it be anything else? That doesn't hinder you. Sleep with a white woman does not hinder you being able to buy and sell, you know, unlike what ISGPK might tell you. It does not hinder you from being able to transact. You're still able to transact whether you have a so-called Edomite woman or not, you know. So that's not it. And so we know that's not that, and we know that, well, it's definitely not plantation Christianity, because everybody has once believed that the image of Cesare Borgia, Edomite hanging from the cross, was once the image of Yahweh Shai. You know, everybody was guilty of that, but then we came to the realization that he had hair white like wool and feet like undefined brass, as if burned in a furnace. That didn't match the images of Cesare Borgia. How many of us had seen that? But they tell you that that's the image of the beast, right? And that just worshiping that was the mark. That's not it either, you know, because, well, we were all guilty of that. The mark of the beast is something you cannot repent from. So receiving this implant into your skin, you know, under your skin, in your forehead or in your hands, is going to be the thing that sets you for the lake of fire. That is the cup of wrath of indignation being poured out without mixture. That's what that is. It is an implantable device, which they're going to mandate right along with the digital act, in which the digital act, which was signed into law Monday after the stupid bowl, he already signed it into effect. This legislation was already there while everybody was sleeping. Everybody was sleeping and worried and fixated about Bad Bunny and fucking Kid Rock, that they totally missed what really was happening. Oh, They also missed Satan Yahoo, King Bibi's visit this last week. King Bibi, Satan Yahoo, came to D.C. to demand that they do something about Iran. You know, that they must do an attack against Iran. Under the guise of so-called making a peace deal, they're going to attack Iran very soon. And Donald Trump doing what King Bibi tells them, because the real king behind Donald Trump is King Bibi. You know, so King Bibi told them that you need to do something about Iran. You need to hit them really hard. And Donald Trump has been doing everything that King Bibi tells him. Oh, and the Epstein files. So let's not forget the mirror image of Esau Edom, right? You know, because all Edomites are Epsteins. They're wannabe Epsteins. Okay, they don't have a lot of riches and powers, and they don't get all the bitches on the boulevard. They're not like P. Diddy, and I'm talking about the 2/3 that are joined unto the Esau Edom that are Epsteins, wannabe Epsteins, wannabe P. Diddy's, you know, that are joined unto him. Well, you can't have it, but he is your dream image. That is the American dream. Well, those are coming out. And you see how much the Israeli state does control Babylon the Great. The least of the flock shall draw them out, shall make their habitations desolate with them. So, this upcoming war with Iran, which also deals with Damascus being consumed, you know, by fire. It's also going to be taken away from being a city, being a ruinous heap, is what's going to start the nuclear war. Well, we're going to see a lot of more advances towards Iran before that day comes. You know, before the day that Damascus ceases from being a city, becoming a ruinous heap, starting World War III, the final event, well, we're going to see more and more attacks against Iran. You know, because those are all the places that are named. And we're going to see Russia come to its defenses. I wouldn't be least a bit surprised at these latest air attacks. The S-400 system shall intercept their missiles, and you're going to see a lot of ships destroyed, a lot of aircraft carriers blown up. Babylon the Great is about to lose in this war that's coming up. You know, this preemptive attack against Iran, because they are ready. They have already woke them up. The Medo-Persian Empire is aware of their plans to attack. So like everything else, though, Ayatollah Khomeini and the rest of them have already said that this will ignite the whole region on fire, which is very much talked about in Ezekiel chapter 38. But this will not happen until the MOTB, the implantable device, is mandated. You see? Don't tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. We're going to see this in our lifetime. We just got to wait patiently for it. Even though it seems like, oh, okay, they keep on putting it off. Well, like everything else, though, you also can see that things are being sped up. A lot of things have been sped up since 2020 for the elect's sake, because we're the ones sighing and crying for the abominations committed here. You know, we're the elect. We pray that we're part of that hopeful elect, but the elect are going out here and they're teaching. They're going out and sighing and crying for the abominations being committed. And we just pray that each and every one of us that are doing that are part of the elect, because we don't know until that moment happens. But we pray to be part of the elect, and we pray that we are still grounded in this, which is why we do everything diligently. You know, this diligence is everything. You know, you test your faith, you test your love for Yahweh Shai by going out and doing this in season and out of season, which is why we do things the way that we do. So hopefully all this has been edifying. For that I will say, Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abababal. Brakatum, Jehovah elect. Wait patiently, because it will surely come, and it will not tarry. Shalom.